Hello everybody and welcome to video tutorial in which we are going to discuss about the SOAP web services. My name is Nebojša Bačanin-Đakula, PhD, and I'm professor at Singidunum University, Faculty of Informatics and Computing. This video is not for commercial purposes. This video is intended for the students of Singidunum University. Now let's get started. So when we discuss about web services, we basically discuss about two types of web services. First is SOAP-based web services, and the second type is REST-styled web services. So in this video we are going to discuss about SOAP-based web services and the basic properties of the SOAP web services. SOAP and REST are not really comparable. REST defines an architectural approach, while SOAP has restrictions on the format of XML, which is exchanged between the service provider and the service consumer. SOAP stands for the Simple Object Access Protocol. So SOAP defines a specific way of delivering a web service, and in SOAP, for the structure of request and response, we use XML format. So, for example, if we have here, let me say, Facebook application, and this Facebook application wants to communicate with the To-Do app, which provides a SOAP web service. This Facebook application first sends a request in XML format, so it sends XML request, and then the To-Do application, which is a SOAP-based web service, sends back XML response. So in SOAP we use XML for data exchange. As you know, XML is pretty straightforward. So for example, a request example can be like, we have here get course request, and then, for example, in the ID tag, we say the ID of the course, it's like course 1. Now we have a closing ID tag, okay, and finally we need to close this get course request tag. So this is a very simple example of the XML request. Okay, good. So if we want to use SOAP, we must use a certain structure. We must use SOAP envelope, SOAP header and the SOAP body. it looks something like this. So we have this SOAP structure. So first we have SOAP envelope. It's envelope, okay. Then we have here something called SOAP header. It's SOAP. We have a header here, okay. And finally we have SOAP body. Okay, so header contains meta information like authentication information, authorization, signature, and some other meta information. In the SOAP body, we put a real content of SOAP web service. So we put real content of the request and the response. And also, when we are talking about this structure, I have to emphasize that the SOAP header is optional. So, if our previous example, if we want to connect the Facebook application with the SOAP web service, Facebook application must use SOAP XML request and SOAP XML response format. SOAP defines format for request and response, but SOAP does not pose any restrictions on the transport. For the transport, we can use both HTTP and MQ, message queues. So we can use both of this transport technology. Then, when we discuss about SOAP's service definition, for service definition, SOAP uses something called WSDL. That stands for the web service description language. Web service description language defines the following. First, it defines endpoint. Endpoint is where our web service is exposed. We already talked about that in one of the previous videos. Then web service defines operations. Web service defines language, defines operations. Like all operations that are exposed by the web service, like, for example, add course details, or delete course, or something like that. These are like public methods. Then WSDL defines request and response structure. For example, if we want to delete our course via the web service, how can we define request? Or if we want to add new courses, how can we define request for this operation and similar? So once again, web service description language is used for the SOAP web service definition, and in this SOAP web service definition, by using web service description language, we define endpoint, we then define operations that are exposed by our web service, and finally we define request and response structure. So when we discuss about SOAP, SOAP is all about adding XML structure, and it is defined with the envelope, header, and the body. So thank you for listening to this video. That would be all for this. In the next videos we are going to talk about the REST web services. Thank you once again.